Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Rise News channel. And I've still got Professor Akiteriwa and, of course, Mr. Riepo with me. And on Wednesday, Nigeria launched plans for a new national airline to be called Nigeria Air, set to take off in December. This announcement was limited in scope. It confirmed the carrier will be private sector led and that the government will own a maximum of 5% of the airline. Nigeria's Minister of Aviation would, however, not confirm any details of who the potential partners or investors would be. Over the years, Nigeria had a long and fluctuating history with national carriers, from West African Airways Corporation, created in 1946, dissolved in 1958, rebranded as WAAC Nigeria. In 1971, the airline was renamed Nigeria Airways and operated as the national carrier. As Nigeria's economy worsened over the years, it crash-landed in 2004 under a pile of debt. The dissolution of Nigerian Airways paved the way for a joint venture between Nigerian investors and British tycoon Richard Branson's Virgin Group in 2004 and called Virgin Nigeria, which ran operations from 2004 to 2008. In 2008, Virgin withdrew and the airline was rebranded yet again, but this time named Nigerian Eagle Airlines. In 2010, Nigerian Eagle was rebranded as Air Nigeria and operations finally ceased in 2012. When due to mismanagement, the airline collapsed under 34 billion naira of debt, which brings us to Nigeria Air, the latest iteration on the list of national air carriers. So, gentlemen, if I may make reference to a quote by the managing director of AMCON, Ahmed Kuru, who says, there is no sense to create a national carrier from a crisis-ridden airline. Now, do you share that belief? Prof, I'll start with you.
I do.
Okay, why?
I do, because you see, we need to revisit the operational environment again. One, if you look at Obi Ekwesili's argument, she came up with the argument that this is not a priority.
Okay.
That there's no need government pumping money, which is scarce, on an airline.
Okay.
Secondly, he came up with the argument that at the end of the day, we do not have details. You have rightly pointed out that one. Details of who is funding, who is going to be involved, the modalities for that.
Okay.
Other commentators have come up with the observation that government should have started with the people of Nigeria first, enlighten them, tell them about it, rather than going abroad to go and launch the logo and everything. But I believe, I agree with the statement for a completely different reason.
Okay.
You know, the people who operated the airlines that crashed in the past,
Okay.
are they not the same people that are still there? Has their mentality changed?
Okay.
Is the manner of work changed? Then we've not been told why we've been witnessing failures in the past.
Yeah.
Now, there is the need, for instance, to come out, do a post-mortem analysis on why we've been having crisis upon crisis. Now, the thinking of many observers is that, look, 2019 election is here.
Okay.
The opposition has been very critical of government, saying government does not have any major project to talk about.
Okay.
Even when President Muhammadu Buhari talks about the Abuja Light Rail,
All right.
the opposition, the PDP, says, look, they started it. You only concluded it, that APC government doesn't have any agenda.
Okay.
So they now look at the introduction of Nigeria Air, scheduled for December 19 this year. They look at it and say, look, it's a project without any seriousness of purpose. So I think that at the end of the day, There are advantages in having Nigeria Air,
Okay.
but for as long as the management know-how will still be external to Nigerians, the moment we do not have that control as Nigerians, ownership of the technology, please, we aren't going nowhere.
All right. Right. Okay, go on.
If you wouldn't mind, you see, for instance, all our aircraft, they go for C and D checks abroad.
That's true.
When Nigerians, the government of Nigeria was unable to pay, the creditors only wait until you bring the aircraft to Europe, and then they attach the aircraft there. You settle the bills. Now, are we sure that the situation will be different with Nigeria?
Very good. More questions than answers. Now, Mr. Epu, Ethiopia is one of Africa's success story when it comes to, the aviation sector, as it were. And we're seeing Kenya and other not too known African countries that are joining into the fray, as it were, with new acquisition of aircraft and expertise as well. Now, how can Nigeria tap into such scenario, or could this excuse the emergence or this drive, to also join into the fray of,
I've been organizing over this subject.
Right.
I have the conviction that this idea is dead on arrival. In fact, if it takes off, it will just crash. We haven't done, as Bayo said, a post-mortem on why the other airlines failed, the ones who had established. Nigeria, the great elephant that couldn't fly, and we are embarking on another one.
Okay.
Do you know that the staff of Nigeria Airways are being owed 45 billion naira?
Up till now.
45 billion naira. And they haven't been paid. They used to carry placards all over the place. So that should have been the starting point. Now you come with this fancy idea. Yes, national airline. But we've tried before. It's not the first time. Nigerian governments cannot run a business properly. Okay. Ethiopian Airline is the best in Africa. It is government-owned. Kenyan Airways is government-owned. It's doing well. Yeah. South African Airways, we have never been able to run a business well. When Obasanjo came in 1999,
yes,
I went to interview him. And he said that federal government had 405 businesses.
Wow.
And only one was making profit. And that was the dockyard, the ship-making company.
Okay.
And the man who was making the ships was naming them after his father, his mother, his wife, and so on. I said, if that is the only problem, let's forget it. Let them name after the whole family. At least we have one company that is working well. So nobody knows the details of this gamble. And that in a democracy, that is wrong. Yeah. You should have come clean and told Nigerians, this is what we are doing, and Nigerians may buy into the proposal.
Okay.
In this same country,
right,
in the 70s, 80s, you had a number of governments running breweries. Okay. And all of them have flopped. All of them, almost without exception, have flopped. Wow. Whereas Nigerian breweries make tons of money. Making a bottle of beer is 90-something% water only. So Nigerian breweries, Guinness, they make a lot of money. Right. But all of those companies owned by state governments and so on that will bring beer and minerals, they're dead, buried. So
much for our managerial abilities when it comes to government agencies. Now, Prof, briefly, pundits have questioned the timing for the emergence of this initiative. What do you make of it?
I think it's specifically done to coincide with the 2019 election. And that's just the issue. Because at the end of the day, if you look at the many complaints by the public, the aviation experts say they were not consulted. And what the government has done is to have invited the youth, the students, saying they consulted.
It's very laughable.
So what? Because they are youth, because the youth own the future.
Okay.
No, please. I think that if Mr. President really believes in it, there's nothing wrong in having a national carrier.
Okay.
If, for instance, it will be done the way it has to be done,
Okay.
based on international standards.
All right.
You see, for instance, the aviation regulations,
Okay.
the BASA agreements, all those things. Nigeria is lagging behind. It's at the lowest end. There are many complaints. We do not have a standard regulatory system,
Framework,
which,
as
yes,
it were.
framework, which is respected.
Okay.
The stakeholders are saying that they have not been carried along. So when you look at it in terms of timing, I think something is wrong. I agree totally with
Just a
Obi.
political decision.
Precisely.
So-
Obi Ezekwele, who said, look, this is not necessary at this time and point.
Obviously.
And sorry to interrupt you.
All right.
The Nigerian airline business is not well run in Nigeria. It's not well regulated by the government.
Okay.
How can government be issuing licenses for people to run airlines and they have one aircraft or 1.5 aircraft?
And you also
I
give
don't
them-
know
and you
where
al-
else that happens.
Exactly. And you're also giving them bailouts.
I don't know where else that
They're supposed to
happens.
bring in their money, their expertise, make
Yes.
money and profits for everyone to enjoy.
That's right.
No, but you are even correct. You see, the issue is that the domestic airlines are complaining too.
Okay.
They are asking for the modalities for operation
Okay.
when Nigeria Air comes comes in. Now, the government says there will be 80 something routes, 81 routes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, nationally, regionally, and internationally speaking. Now, the domestic airlines are asking questions to say, are you not going to give priority to Nigeria Air to the detriment of the other domestic airlines? That there is the need to discuss.
Okay.
But government has not discussed. All these issues are there. So they cannot be more correct to say, look, it's dead ab initio, especially when you are heavily indebted. Those who worked, staff, all right, you have debts to settle.
right.
You are not talking about that, but you are now incurring, I think the preliminary budget for it was $8.8 million.
Okay.
Then 300 million for takeoff.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can see this.
Yeah, obviously we're still going to be talking about this for some time to come on the emergence, or as it were, as Mr. Ekwes puts it, dead on arrival, as it were. Now, it's time for a break here on This Day Live. The Sunday Talk show goes ahead, but don't go away. We'll be right back. Welcome back to This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Arise News channel. And now, a letter read in plenary by Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki this week. President Buhari told the senators that not less than 242 billion naira will be required for the conduct of the 2019 general and presidential elections. President Buhari's letter, titled, quote, Request for Environment and Supplementary 2018 Budget, read, as you're aware, the 2019 general election is scheduled to be conducted early in 2019. To ensure that adequate arrangements are made for free and fair elections, it has become necessary to appropriate funds to enable the relevant agencies to commence preparations. INEC and the security agencies have accordingly recently submitted their request. These have been subjected to the usual budget evaluation. Now, the aggregate cost of the elections is estimated at a little over 242 billion naira. And to discuss this, I've still got a gentleman with me. I'm going to start with you, Prof. Do you see both arms of legislature approving this? Yes, he has sent this letter to the National Assembly to seek approval, and this that's for the 2019 and 2019 budgets, respectively. So, what do you make of this?
We can look at it from two perspectives.
Okay.
Perspective one is that, yes, the legislature can approve it. The other perspective is to say, no, it is not likely. It all depends on what we are now discussing.
Okay.
You see, the issues involved are that, one, the ruling party, the APC, and President Buhari are bent on winning election 2019.
Okay.
In this case, the likelihood of President Buhari wanting to do battle, if we can even call it dog battle, with the National Assembly will be difficult and it will be remote, which means he has to look at it in light of his objective of being, of winning a second term. Now, if you look at what might have informed the demand for this 242 billion naira, the reasoning of President Buhari is that the National Assembly had cut down on the budget and introduced some new projects. And Buhari is saying that, look, at the end of the day, there's no way with the approved budget by National Assembly will the executive arm of government implement the budget. Now, it appears that in vengeance, he now asked that I think it's 228 billion. 228 billion out of the whole 242, should be invested on what he call new project, which is the election and the budget. While the difference, he says, should be taken to 2019 budget. Now, he's trying to sanction, or he's trying to prevent the National Assembly from getting, results from the projects the National Assembly had introduced. So when you look at it critically, in this case, you cannot be looking at National Assembly, trying to punish it, prevent it from achieving its own aim, and expect the National Assembly to give you support.
All right, Prof. So very good. I do, it's a lengthy and technical analysis, but I would like Mr. Apu to take off from there. Now, we're seeing more political parties emerging in the run-up to the polls next year, well over 60, and INEC even came out with this figure that about a little over 100 or thereabout also on the waiting list. Now, can this have something to do with President Buhari's proposal? And do you think this will be a kind of logistic nightmare, for INEC towards the polls, as it were?
I would like us to interrogate the figures. In 2011, the presidential election, the election cost us 85 billion naira. In 2015, it cost us 108 billion naira. The increase was 23 billion naira. So to move from 108 billion naira in 2015 to 242 billion naira in 2019 is outrageous. It is more than double that figure. And that figure is very, very suspicious. I do not know what has increased significantly. The voting population certainly must have increased.
That's true.
But I am also certain that there is a lot of waste in the conduct of our elections. If you look at the Ekiti elections, 35 parties contested for the seat, the Ekiti governorship election.
That's true.
Two parties, APC and PDP, had 97% of the votes.
So the relevance.
All the others had 3%. So what's the use of registering 68 parties? We now have 68 parties, and 20 more parties are waiting to be registered. So if you look at the world itself, not even just Nigeria, Britain, France, Germany, there is none that has more than United States, more than 3 functioning parties. So what do we need? This amalgam, this big avalanche of parties. This question, the problem is that you will continue to have a very large number of soiled votes, ballots that are not accepted, because you're trying to do a ballot paper for 35 people. I don't know how many people will contest the presidency. And therefore, somebody's trying to thumbprint, it runs into this party or that party, and it's void. It's voided. So that is one problem that occurred in Ekiti. And there's so many, I think 30-something voided votes. That is going to continue to happen. So if you print a ballot paper that has 35 candidates, you're wasting a lot of money. Whereas if you had 3, 4, 5 candidates, it is easier for the election, it is cheaper for you, and it's better for the voters. This is a country where people are you have a large chunk of illiterate people who are going to go and vote. In the Second Republic, I know we have 5 parties. The parties used to say to them, 1, 2, 3. You press 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Fikubok, put your finger there. 1, 2. Depending on which party they want you to vote for. They worked out, they crafted songs to make sure that you remember.
Very good.
But this one, you can't do it.
All right, gentlemen, let's just move straight to the next story because of time constraint. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria on Monday again issued warning against the spraying, selling and mutilation of Naira notes, a criminal offense which the bank said attracts 5 years imprisonment, expressing worry over the act which it said is becoming common practice among Nigerians. Apex Bank said anyone caught would henceforth be made to face the full wrath of the law. Now, gentlemen, I'm going to start with you again, Prof. We've heard this before. Now, will people take this latest warning?
Well, again, you are asking a very difficult question. You see, it's already part of the culture of many Nigerians. Now, counterfeiting, I agree with that. 5 years imprisonment, no option of fine if found guilty. Now, in terms of selling, mutilating the Naira, I also disagree with anyone engaging in that. What is selling here? Selling is not as if it's a commodity placed on the market table. Selling in this case is when you are dancing and you are happy. Now, you have some business people who will tell you, I have new currencies to spray. So, you give 100 Naira, it takes a commission of 10 Naira or 20 Naira on it. The implication is that for the central bank, and the CBN is saying that they've been able to retrieve 65 million or billions there. Now, you don't have currencies, new currencies in the bank, but in social parties, they are available. Now, so I think that at the end of the day, if you compare the Yoruba tradition with the Igbo tradition, in terms of spraying of money, you will see a fundamental difference. You go to an Igbo party, they don't spray the money on you. The person dancing the celebrants, they will just be placing it on the floor.
Okay.
All right. The Yoruba is different. Yoruba tradition, they put it on your neck, your head. In fact, in a stylish manner, they will be looking this direction and they will be spraying you. So it's a cultural something.
Okay.
In the centers, in the cities,
okay,
it can work, but in the villages, it will take time. So you need a special public enlightenment
all right.
for it to be made compliant.
All right, very good, Prof. Now, Mr. Ekpo, there were public enlightenments on such warnings in the past. Would you say it has changed the people's perception of the Naira's value since then?
I think the central bank can do a few things to reduce the level of mutilation.
Okay.
One is, I believe it ought to change the tattered notes more often, because this is an economy that is still run with currency. And a few people in the cities have ATM, and there are ATM machines in the cities, but there are no ATM machines outside the cities.
All right.
There are no banks. That is why the traders in the local areas use the currency, and they use it roughly, and nobody's changing it to give them clean ones. In Europe and America, they change these things regularly. They don't allow it to get to a point that it's damaged, even though I know many Nigerians write letters and write figures on the currency, which is something that has to be discouraged. Right. The second thing is that I think some of the currencies are not very strong. Okay. They seem to be very fragile. The 20 Naira note, I think it's made with something different, and it lasts longer. Okay. I understand that is the currency that is most used by Nigerians. So they make it from a different material, and it lasts. It doesn't shrink like the others, and so on. Right. So maybe the CBN should think of using such currencies for some of the other frequently used currencies, and also take back the shredded ones and replace with new ones. It is actually the bank managers who sell these fresh, brand new currencies to the people who go out and hawk at parties and so on.
All right, very good. And on that note, we'll have to come to an end. It's been an interesting discussion so far. Professor Bola Akinteriwa, Director of Center for International Advanced and Professional Studies, and Mr. Ray Ekpo, former Editor-in-Chief, Newswatch, and CEO, Mayfi Media. It's good to have you all. It's been a pleasure having you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And you've been watching This Day Live, the Sunday talk show here on the Rise News. I'm Ni Uilo from the team here at Lagos. It's bye for now, and thanks very much for being there.